You are now watching Believe. Do you believe?
Duval, welcome in to a AFC divisional round eve edition of Believe in Jaguars. I'm Jordan DeLugo, joined by former Jaguars tight end Clay Harbor. As always, we've got one more sleep until the Jaguars take on the Kansas City Chiefs in Kansas City at Arrowhead, 4:30 p.m. Eastern time on Saturday. NBC. Going to get to Rico and Collinsworth, so hopefully there should be a little bit more life than there was in the broadcast last week. How about it, Clay?
I hope so too, man. That was a pretty quiet group right there. But man, I'm excited. Smart Money says that the team that's been to the last 5 AFC Championship games is probably going to win this one. But we don't like Smart Money. I know we like going on a limb and making bold predictions. So we got some. We're going to have some predictions for you guys today, and we both think this is going to be a closer game than a lot of the so-called experts do, with a 8.5, 9-point line on this one. We think it'll be a lot closer, and maybe the Jags can even pull off a big upset.
Maybe they can. We'll talk about it here. I'd like to remind you to hit Clay up on Twitter at ClayHarbs82, myself at Jordan DeLugo. And also, if you enjoy the content here, Believe in Jaguars, please hit the review button, leave us a positive review, subscribe on your podcast platform of choice. You can also check us out on the Gen Jag YouTube channel if you want to watch us in video form. So let's go ahead and get into it, Clay. The Jaguars, they're 8.5-point road dogs, right? Over under of 53, which is a really high point total. That means Vegas is expecting some pretty big points in this one, but they're expecting the Chiefs to handle their business. I'll tell you right now, off the cap, I do not think that the Jaguars are going to lose by more than 8 points. I think they're going to cover.
Yeah, I think they're going to cover too. I mean, I'll take that one to the bank. I'm not sure they can't win this game. So, I'm going, usually I have a good inclination before the game. I'm like, man, I'm still going back and forth on if, Smart Money. I think there's a chance there. So, but as far as the betting line, if I'm a betting man, I am taking the points and taking the Jags plus the spread. They're definitely going to cover, in my opinion. But, we're not worried about covering here on Believe. We're worried about the wins and the losses and who is going to be playing next week.
That's right. You can stick around for the predictions. You might be able to gather where we're going to go with this prior to us getting to the predictions, but, that is what it is. Yeah, looks like it might be -9 now, like you mentioned. Money going towards the Chiefs a little bit.
Yeah.
Either way, not a big deal. 8.5, 9 points, pretty much the same thing. But the one thing to monitor on that over-under, the snow, right? 60% chance of snow, 70% chance of snow during the game. Now, does that snow pile up on the ground? Does it melt in the air? Like, what are we looking at here? That's going to matter. Like, it's going to matter what type of snow we're dealing with, what type of precipitation we're dealing with in this football game. And certainly that could slow these two teams down if it becomes a factor. If the football's wet, if it's slippery, if it's nasty, you're going to run the ball more probably and might not get those points. But if it's looking fairly manageable out there, I think you can safely bet on the points over.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, one of these teams, these guys can hit 40, and they've done it. So if one of them hits 40, the other one just has to hit 12, and you're right there. So,
I have a hard time if the weather holds up. I have a hard time not seeing both of these teams at least scoring in the high 20s.
Yeah,
and that would easily break 53.
Yeah, I agree. I'd say the over is good as well. And obviously, I haven't looked at the props yet, but I think that it's going to be a highly offensive matchup. And obviously, the Chiefs got a good defense, so the Jags. So the Jags' defense has improved. The Chiefs' defense is improved. And one of my keys for the game, I'm probably getting ahead of myself here, but you got to pressure Mahomes. Last time they didn't get a single sack on him, and not one sack on Mahomes. Like, come on, man, you got to get some pressure on this guy. And I saw this stat yesterday. Mahomes had the third biggest decline in passer rating between passes without pressure and with pressure, dropping from 119 when unpressured to 57 when pressured. I mean, to me, I know I'm not the biggest analytical guy, and I'm the guy you just want to go out there and play, but I mean, that's pretty telling. You got to get pressure on them.
Yeah.
Obviously, you don't want to, lose guys in coverage, and they do have a pretty good receiving core with Juju and all those guys. I mean, they got a deep receiving core. Surprisingly, that's something that you don't think. They're not superstars, but Marquez Valdez, Scanling, Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney's been a big pickup for them. Big play on us last time around. Justin Watson can even play. So you want to keep guys in coverage, but you got to get them pressured. You see the stat. I mean, it's a huge drop off from Mahomes if you get pressure on him, and hopefully you can do that with obviously with your front four. But I'm not sure you can. I know Josh Allen and Arden Key can get the job done there, but I mean, Joe Thuney, Orlando Brown is just a massive human, 6'8", 350. He makes the blind side look small. Michael Orr, this guy's massive. So it's gonna be a chess match. Can Caldwell get some pressure on Patrick Mahomes? I think he can do that, and if he does, I think it changes the dynamic of the game.
Yeah, the thing about it, last game the Jaguars did get pressure. It didn't feel like it because when they did push the pocket and create, nasty looking pockets, Patrick Mahomes just escaped.
Made a play. Yeah.
He said, I'm going to go full wizard mode right now, and you're just not going to be able to touch me.
You shall not pass.
Right? Yeah. Now the Jags pass rush has greatly improved since then. I would say the Chiefs offensive line has improved since then. Orlando Brown has been playing better football than he was earlier in the year. Even Andrew Wiley at right tackle is playing better than he was earlier in the year. But the Jags, they have 19 sacks in the last 6 games.
Yeah.
And this was something I was going to talk about a little bit later with one of our unsung heroes. We're going to talk about some guys that just don't get the attention they deserve. The unsung hero I was going to bring up is Roy Robertson Harris.
Yeah.
This guy has been a menace over the last 5 weeks.
Yep.
Okay. Against the Cowboys, 4 total pressures, 5 tackles, 2 stops. Against the Jets, 4 total pressures again, a sack. Texans, 4 pressures again, 2 quarterback hits. Titans, 3 pressures, a sack. Chargers, 3 pressures, a sack. Those type of numbers from the interior are huge. And not only is it what he's doing from the interior, but when he gets pressure, when Devon Hamilton gets pressure, when those guys push the pocket, it gives Josh Allen, Trayvon Walker, Arden Key, all these guys the opportunity to make plays because there's not anywhere for that quarterback to go. So if you can get RRH playing the way he has played, it's going to be really difficult for the Chiefs to have clean pockets. And I know that's tough. It's a tough ask because, again, he is going to be lined up against Joe Thuney. He is going to be lined up against the kid on the right guard from Tennessee. I'm drawing a blank on his name right now, but he's a behemoth as well. And then, of course, their young center is a stud too. So it's going to be difficult for this defensive front. But you said this is a key. I think it's a key as well.
Trey Smith and Creed Humphrey,
Yeah, Trey Smith and Creed Humphrey. I think the Jaguars have to be able to get pressure with 4 at times. I think they have to slow down the rushing attack. Like, they've got to tackle. That's not something we talk about that much. You've got to tackle the Chiefs. They've got guys that can make you miss. And if you allow them to get these easy chunk yardage by missing tackles, which the Jaguars have improved greatly in terms of being able to get ball carriers down, but that's going to be huge. Yeah, I just think this defense needs to do what they have been doing, and they're going to be able to put the offense in a position to succeed. But it's much easier said than done against this offensive line, against Patrick Mahomes, against Andy Reid, all the skill they have on offense. It's going to be tough for the defense.
Yeah, they use a lot of different guys, and the way they use their like Pacheco and McKinnon. Like McKinnon has 9 receiving touchdowns. Like, what do you make of that?
Yeah, he's a stud out of the backfield, and this is a guy that a few years back, the 49ers brought him over from Minnesota to be their feature back, to be their Christian McCaffrey type guy. He dealt with injuries in San Francisco, didn't quite work out, kind of cast off, gets to Kansas City, and he was there last year a little bit too, but the way they have figured out how to use him in the passing game with his speed, quickness, change of direction, it's really difficult. And it's not only difficult because of his individual skill set and Patrick Mahomes being able to, I mean, one of those big touchdowns was on one of those crazy freak Patrick Mahomes. How the hell did he get the ball out like that, towards the sideline type thing? It's not only that, but it's also the fact that you're accounting for Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
You're accounting for the speed they have at receiver because Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney, these are
These guys
fast
don't
receivers.
play. Yeah.
Watson, these are fast receivers. Juju's not a speedster, but he's a good receiver.
Yeah.
But there's just so much to account for in this offense. And Andy Reid, he is, he was Doug Peterson before Doug Peterson in terms of the way they run their offenses. They're very similar.
Yeah.
They're the same. Doug's offense comes from Andy Reid. So it's difficult. And I think that the situation for McKinnon has elevated his ability to get in the end zone, absolutely. But he's dangerous in his own right, and you've got to tackle. When you get to the ball carrier, you got to tackle. You can't let him make you miss in the open space.
That's just crazy from a running back, standpoint to have that many receiving yards and receiving touchdowns. And obviously Isaiah Pacheco is a guy that's done really good things for them this year too. He's averaging
more
5 yards a carry, 4.9, 830 yards. Like, this guy can play too. And he's not as big out of the backfield. He's only got 130 yards out of the backfield this year. So you kind of know when he's in the game, it's more of a running situation there. But what my runner up for my unsung hero is you kind of alluded this guy earlier is Devon Hamilton. I mean, he's a guy that nobody talks about, and he's had a nice year. I mean, he's top 20 on PFF as far as interior defenders. I mean, that's tough. There's a lot of good interior defenders in here. I mean, he's graded out very well as far as getting pressures and run defense, and he's done a nice job. He's really kind of came into his own this year, and he doesn't get, in my opinion, as much love as he should for being a big part of that defense and being a big part of that turnaround. So I really love what Devon Hamilton has done with Roy Robertson Harris. I mean, together, I think they're two guys that don't get much credit that have played well.
Yeah, it's true. And Roy Robertson Harris, he's not in a contract year technically, but the Jaguars have an out after this year. They also have a lot of salary cap issues going on. It's like, what are they going to do with Roy? This guy's playing like a man possessed right now. How do you let him walk out of the building? We'll see. We'll see how it plays out. But the Jaguars are definitely going to have to make some money decisions after the season. But let's continue to talk about Jags Chiefs here.
Yeah.
Doug Peterson, Andy Reid, we've brought it up already. Everybody's been talking about it all week. Master and apprentice. Doug Peterson is 0-2 against Andy Reid in his career. They played once in Philly. They played once earlier this year in Kansas City. I think Doug's due.
I think he's
what do
due.
you think about that?
Yeah, I think you're right, man. Doug in his own right. People always assume that the teacher always has, the leg up on the student. But I'm not so sure the teacher has the leg up on the student in this matchup. And Doug's coming off of some big games down the stretch where he's been aggressive and making some great calls, obviously some great play calls. Him and Trevor on the right page. And obviously Andy's really good after a bye week. He's went to the last 5 AFC championship games. But Doug Peterson's been in this situation before. He's a Super Bowl winner. He knows what Andy Reid's going to do. He's been on that staff. He's been on the Chiefs staff. He was on the Eagles staff. This is his guy. This is a guy that he brought up and taught how to call these plays. They run the same offense. This is the same offense I ran back when I was a Philadelphia Eagle with Doug on staff and Andy Reid, the coach that drafted me. they run similar stuff, but Doug knows that he is not supposed to win this game. He knows that he is the underdog. So Doug's going to come out swinging. Doug has he's not worried one bit, and he likes this position that he's in. He's going into Arrowhead. Fans are bashing Trevor for saying that the bank is as loud as Arrowhead, and they love this underdog, us against the world. Let's go into Kansas City and shock the world. They did it and won the Super Bowl doing the same thing, the same recipe. So I think Doug is due as well. Doug, former player, former offensive coordinator, former quarterback coach, head coach now, is going to have these guys ready, and him and Trevor on the right page. And I think that you look back at the last game, that was a pretty close game. It was a little bit closer, in my opinion. The score indicated. Some people say it was a little bit further away, but I mean,
we're talking about the last Chiefs game. Sorry, when you said that, I thought you were talking about last
Chargers. The last game that they played.
How could that game get closer?
Any closer? Yeah. The last Chiefs game.
Yeah.
I mean, 2 missed field goals. Didn't we have like an illegal man downfield on Cam or something to where that ended up taking points off the board, negated a touchdown? I mean, there were some things that happened that if they go the other way, I mean, this is a different ball game. So these guys are going to come in confident, different team, and I think Doug can't pull this upset.
Yeah, I think he can too. He's 5-2 all time as a coach in the playoffs. His teams are, and the Jaguars, they're 3-2 all time in the divisional round. Last win in the divisional round was 2017 against the Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh, another game that no one gave the Jaguars a chance to win.
No chance.
And the last loss was New England in 2008, which the Jaguars didn't have much of a chance to win that game. But I think you look at this franchise's history in the divisional round. I think you look at Doug Peterson, bringing him into the fold there, 5-2 all time in the playoffs. I know that not a lot of people are really giving the Jags a chance nationally. I've tuned into a lot of Chiefs coverage as well. A lot of really good people out there covering the Chiefs. I think that this is as close as it gets on paper. From a coaching standpoint, schematic standpoint, talent standpoint, I think the Jaguars have a more complete team right now than the Chiefs do on all phases, but I think the Chiefs have the 3 biggest stars in this game. Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and Chris Jones. And I know Trevor Lawrence will be right up there with those guys here soon, but Kelce plays a position the Jaguars really struggle with, tight end. Yeah. And Chris Jones does too. The Jaguars struggle with interior pass rush.
So last game they played.
Chris Jones and Travis Kelce both crushed the Jaguars last time. And the Jags were still close. And so while I believe that these two are going to get theirs, that they're going to have big games, I think the Jaguars showed that they can still play close, even with the Kansas City Chiefs star players playing how they're supposed to play.
Yeah. Chris Jones has 15.5 sacks this year. I mean, got 1.5 sacks last time they played, and he was in the backfield. I mean, pretty much the whole game. Brandon Sheriff is a great player. He's a great guard. Obviously, he's one of the highest paid guards, in the league.
Yeah.
And he made him look like an average player or a rookie. I mean, Chris Jones, 15.5 sacks. He hasn't had a sack yet in the postseason. He's itching to get that sack. He wants to show why he's one of the best in the game.
He's never had a postseason sack.
Never had a postseason sack. I literally just heard that today.
That is crazy.
Like, wow, this guy, he's hungry. He wants it. To me, if they can control this defensive line, that's the biggest issue here. Give Trevor some time. I think he's going to find his guys. But you're going to have to control this defensive line. I mean, that's not easy. These guys can play. George Karlaftis, he's came on at the end of the season.
Yeah,
I mean, Chris Jones, Frank Clark can play a little bit. Carlos Dunlap's in.
Good. Mike Dana's good. Kalen Saunders is good. Yeah. They've got a good defensive front. No question about it. What's funny about that, you mentioned Frank Clark. Chris Jones has never had a playoff sack.
Yeah.
Frank Clark He's like close to being the all-time leader in playoff sacks.
Really?
Yeah, I think he's like 4 away from being the all-time, and he's about to pass like some crazy names on the list. So it's just kind of funny. He has been really good in the postseason for the Chiefs, and it'll be interesting to see. I'm not sure if he reached the postseason with the Seahawks prior to joining the Chiefs. I can't remember that, but
Yeah.
he's been a menace in the postseason as a pass rusher. So that's somebody to deal with. Carlos Dunlap had a big game against the Jaguars last time. One thing that we noticed, they were getting their hands on a lot of footballs at the line of scrimmage last time as well. They were batting a lot of passes, and Trevor's been one of the guys in the league who's had the most batted passes this year. He's up there with them. What do you think that is? Is it them knowing what the Jaguars are trying to do, what they're trying to execute?
No, I think it's a lot of quick game over the middle type stuff that you see these batted passes on, not the long deep balls, the big
Right.
drops. So I think it's just the amount of quick game and slants and stuff that Doug likes to throw. And to go back to you, I just looked up the Jaguars in fantasy points against tight ends are 26th in the league.
I'm surprised they're not dead last.
Yeah, and that's not good. You're in the bottom fourth.
One thing you can say about that, well, we know the Jaguars are going to get burnt by your tight end, whoever it is.
Yeah. So hey, it doesn't matter.
They've gotten burnt by tight ends and won games. Like,
we don't care if you have Travis Kelce. We are going to get burnt anyways. I mean, you look at Gerald Everett last week. I'm like, who the heck is obviously Gerald Everett's a good player. They're making him look like Gronk, man, in the wild card round. I'm like, man, Gerald Everett's over here just carrying guys wide open, catching passes. Even when he drops a pass, somehow they count it as a big play. I was furious, by the way. I know I'm getting off topic here, but that pass, that was an obvious drop, and they counted it, and Doug didn't throw the flag. Everything worked out, but I'm just yelling at the TV, throw the challenge flag. That's not a catch. When you see a guy get up and go, like, come on,
all right, we need
throw
to
the flag. The guy that caught the ball, like, you're not slick. If he's trying to hurry everybody up to the line, he dropped it, and he knows it. So throw the flag. Mm-hmm. But anyways, I'm getting off topic. But yes, the Jaguars are 26th in the league in fantasy points, tight end. So that's not good. Bottom fourth of the league, and they're going against Travis Kelce, who is by far the best tight end in this league. So there you go.
And when you talk about the Jags defense versus the Chiefs offense, a lot has changed since that last matchup. The Jaguars do still struggle to cover the tight end, but they've been the best pressure team in the NFL over the last 6 weeks. They've gotten the most sacks in the NFL over the last 6 weeks.
The Jaguars.
Yeah. 19 sacks in 6 games.
Damn.
Like, they have been on a tear. They've gotten 3 sacks in every game that they've played since Tennessee the first time.
Yeah, and they've been getting extra pressures.
At least 3
sacks. They're still getting pressures that haven't even added to the sack total too.
Right. They've been fantastic up front. And I think a lot of that we talked about stems from the back end. You've got Darius Williams playing outside full time now, and it has transformed what the Jaguars are able to do defensively. They're able to play more free. They're able to feel like our defense isn't broken. We actually have a chance to do something here. And I think it's freed up Mike Caldwell to call the game a little bit more aggressive. And so the Chiefs, last time they played the Jaguars, they were going up against Trey Herndon and Buster Brown on the outside.
Yeah.
Now you've got Darius Williams, obviously Tyson Campbell playing outside. Trey Herndon's playing the slot, which isn't great. He's not a great slot, but it's much better having him in the slot than having him outside. He has more of a skill set to play the slot. So, and if he gets lined up against Juju, I think he can handle that all right. I think he might struggle with the true speedsters on this team. And look, the Chiefs are going to get theirs. This is the Kansas City Chiefs. This is Andy Reid, one of the best offensive play callers of all time, one of the best quarterbacks of all time. Travis Kelce, one of the best tight ends of all time, a quality offensive line, pieces all around. We're not trying to say the Jaguars will shut down the Chiefs, but keep it competitive. Land your own punches, get a turnover here or there, get a sack here or there, force a punt. How about that? Actually forcing a punt against the Chiefs. So yeah, I think that's what it's about. It's not about dominating this Chiefs offense. It's about holding your own.
What's your take on the Arrowhead thing? So everybody's talking about this Trevor Lawrence quote where he says, can't imagine Arrowhead being much louder than Duval was this week. And then Shannon Sharp goes on air and says, "Oh, the little pool and the 40,000 fans in Jacksonville aren't going to compare to Arrowhead." Little does Shannon know there were 71,000 fans at the game, and it was extremely loud. So give me your take on that. Like, what do you? Why is everybody making such a huge deal about this? Yeah. Obviously, they need something to say, but.
Well, Chiefs fans want something to be mad about, because there's just sure they would disagree, but this has been a franchise that has been fairly undramatic over the last half decade, right? It's clockwork. They're going to be in the divisional round. They're going to be in the championship. They need something to get mad about. Good for them. Who cares? So from that perspective, whatever. Like, they were going to be loudest as can be. Like, they're going to be louder now. No, they were going to be loud as they could possibly be already. It's the best environment in the NFL, in my opinion, that I have witnessed. It's incredible. Trevor saying that, I think if you read the whole quote, obviously he was not trying to throw shade.
No,
he was trying to compliment his fans. He was trying to say, I have been to Kansas City before. He was trying to say, I think it's going to be really loud. I just don't know how much louder it can get than what happened the last couple weeks in Jacksonville. I think he's wrong. I think it will be louder than Jacksonville.
And now it definitely will, because the fans all have a chip on. Here's what's going to happen. They try to make this into a storyline. The fans have a chip on their shoulder. Every incomplete pass, the fans are going to go crazy. But that's fine. They can handle this. Here's what people need to realize.
They were going to go crazy anyways.
And Trevor Lawrence was in the college football playoffs 3 times with sold-out crowds in the biggest games in college football. Yes, people don't realize college football has a huge fan base too. Just because it's the NFL, these guys are getting paid, doesn't make the fan base any different. These college fans, these college games are extremely loud too. Trevor Lawrence has played in the biggest stages in front of sold-out crowds, standing room only in the playoffs. He's actually won the national championship. To think that all of a sudden Trevor is not going to be able to handle a loud stadium is just crazy. And also Shannon Sharp saying that there's 40,000 fans at Jacksonville. They're not going to be louder. Shannon, look at it. They were sold out the last 2 weeks. They were standing room only. 40,000 fans, 70,000.
Shannon Sharp doesn't like Jacksonville. He doesn't like the Jaguars. Jags fans have talked a lot of crap to him on Twitter over the years, and I think he still doesn't like the Jaguars from '96. Jags went into Denver and beat the snot out of him. I think he's still salty. But look, Shannon, Skip, Colin Cowherd, I could care less what any of these idiots have to say.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just talking heads. Like, they don't have any substance to them. And that's disappointing for a guy who played in the NFL, right? Like, he should actually be able to provide some better insight, analysis, but he doesn't. He just went with them in the talking head direction, and that's just what he is now. And I don't care about any of those guys.
The guys I'm worried about, the number one guy would be with the away game and how loud it's going to be, because there's playoffs, is Jawan Taylor, and that's just because he's a guy that jumps the snap count, right? Now it's 3rd down.
He would say he doesn't jump it; he just times it up perfect. But yes,
he does. But that's that's a trick of the veterans using this. Like, I used to do the same thing. My mindset when I was playing, being undersized, I'm going to myself, here's my mind. I go, stay low, snap count. And obviously, you got to get your footsteps. You got to get your steps in the ground. You got your hands high, but you keep it simple. Stay low, snap count. I'm jumping the snap count every play. I want to get 2 feet in the ground before they get 1, because I was undersized. Jawan Taylor does the same thing. He's like, okay, this guy's quicker than me. I got to jump the snap count. And the snaps. You're moving exactly when the ball moves. You're not supposed to be able to do that. The defense thinks you're jumping because they have to wait to see the ball and then move. So Juwan Taylor does great, but now you're not going to be able to hear the snap count. Obviously, you got a silent count. At tackle, it's hard to see. At tight end, it's impossible to see. You have the tackle's big head in your way. You can't see anything. So you're literally waiting on the tackle to move. You're trying to see the ball. So that's the only thing is these linemen, if it gets really loud, you got to have a good silent count. You got and obviously Doug, Luke Fortner's a rookie. So, that's interesting. Is he going to be able to handle the silent count? I think so. Well, you got to be on the same page there. Obviously, Doug's going to be practicing that. Doug's going to have him prepared. Listen, this silent count is huge. We need to get off on the ball. These pass rushers are coming. Make sure that you guys practice extra silent count.
Yeah, I'm sure they are.
Yeah.
And they've been pumping in, fake noise all week. And Doug said, that's not going to prepare you for Arrowhead. But the good thing is they have been to Arrowhead. It wasn't one of the louder games at Arrowhead that that they've been a part of, but they've been there. There's some familiarity with this situation, and they have dealt with loud crowds. All of these guys have. Will it be too much? I don't know. I mean, I've seen Arrowhead scare teams before. I've seen Arrowhead scare the Jaguars before.
Yeah.
Not this year. I don't think they were fazed by the crowd noise. But I'll tell you what, in 2018, when the Jaguars were 3-1, going out to Arrowhead, trying to, we feel like the Jags are building towards the playoffs for the second straight year and all that, and that crowd noise, it blew the Jaguars away. It really did. Blake Bortles could not handle the noise. Threw like 5 interceptions or some crap in that game, without coming back and scoring the 4 touchdowns like Trevor did last week.
The boat, baby. Blake, my guy.
Yeah. Love him, but that was the beginning of the end for Blake, unfortunately.
Yep.
And the rest of that year was just damn ugly. So, yeah, I think that you're talking about the offensive line. They were embarrassed, in my opinion, in the last contest. And there's no reason for them to play that poorly.
Yeah.
They're well coached. They're talented. I'm not saying they're the best offensive line, but they're a well coached, talented group, and they need to play better. They need to stand up and show some pride.
Yeah. No, I agree. They gotta do a better job there. And I think they will. They've improved and they've gotten better. And Fortner early in the year was, I know it wasn't early in the year. I mean, wasn't great. He's improved. Obviously, you're missing Cam Robinson, but Walker Little has shown up, and I have confidence in him.
Position.
I mean, maybe. I mean, what do you think? I mean, it's possible. I don't know.
I think he has. I think you have a, and this is not an issue for right now, but I think you've got 3 starting tackles in Jacksonville right now. Obviously, Juwan Taylor is going to be a free agent. Trevor Lawrence was just talking this week about how much he loves to play with Juwan. So, he's going to want Juwan back.
Yeah. They're not keeping all 3 of those guys, I don't think, because you're going to have to pay all 3 of these dudes.
Well,
not Walker Little right now.
Not Walker, but yeah, you don't really want to be paying 2 tackles premium money when you're already paying Brandon Sheriff.
Juwan Taylor's going to be getting, a hefty contract. So they would have to pay him a nice little chunk to keep Juwan Taylor. Yeah.
I think they would have to try to figure out some way to move Cam in that scenario, but I don't know how they do that either. I'm not like, if I was a team looking, I would not be wanting to pay Cam Robinson the type of money he's getting paid.
Yeah.
But that's neither here nor there. I think Walker Little, he brings more size to the position. He's bigger than Cam Robinson.
Yeah.
I think that he's just playing a little bit better than Cam was right now. We'll see. This is a big moment for him. This is a big environment for him. He hasn't had to deal with anything like this in his playing career.
Well, I'm more worried about these interior linemen. Obviously, Sheriff is okay, but
Sheriff has not produced this year the way he needed to.
Yeah, he hasn't.
And he's been battling through injuries the last month plus.
Yeah.
But he wasn't injured when he went to Kansas City last time.
No, he wasn't. He still got beat pretty badly. But Chris Jones, I mean, I love Shat. I played with Shat. Shat's been on the team forever, man. I played with him. He came in, I mean, diligent guy, quiet guy, just gets his job done. But can he block Chris Jones, on a stunt, in the interior there? Can Luke Fortner? I mean, can you even ask him to like one-on-one if you have him there block Chris Jones? I mean, like that's even a hard ask to do, this rookie 6'6", 290-pound rookie. Okay, like I am really worried, and that's a guy that can wreck a game. So for me, that interior battle there is going to be huge, and I don't see Doug trying to run the ball up the gut too much, especially towards Chris Jones. And I think he's going to move the pocket a little bit early to give these guys, let them break it in, try to wear out Chris Jones, some of these D linemen, and then you're going to have to do some drop backs, and hopefully you can get 4 sets of hands on Chris Jones. But we'll see what happens there.
Absolutely. Now, one thing we can say again, kind of like Travis Kelce with like the tight ends just destroying the Jaguars no matter who it is. Last time these two teams played, the Chiefs' defensive line did dominate the Jaguars' offensive line, and the Jaguars still moved the ball.
Yeah.
So it's another one of those things where, is that the biggest issue? Like, can they overcome the fact? I think they can, because they get the ball out quick.
Yeah, that's if it's Justin Fields, he holds on. He's wrecked. Trevor gets the ball out so quick that it does help, and Doug's extremely smart, and you got a lot of smart offensive minds on that staff. Jim Bob Cooter, obviously, that's a guy that's one of the underrated guys in my book. I mean, pass game coordinator, but he's a former offensive coordinator. Like, this guy's good. I played with Jim Bob as my offensive coordinator when I was in Detroit. I know I've been everywhere, but this guy's a smart guy. I mean, he runs meetings. He knows what he's talking about. He talks about, all right, he's like, we got these are the D linemen. He's like, obviously, offensive line, you do your job. We know who we're going against, and we're going to take care of you guys. And he's looking at Stafford. He's like, Staff, some of these are on you. And that's a lot that has to do with the quarterback. You know what you got going on here. Get the ball out. So, obviously Mike McCoy is a guy that's been around the league and has coached, been a head coach in this league. So, I mean, this guy's a great offensive line and just offensive mind as well. I mean, they got some big coaches there. Press Taylor, offensive coordinator. He knows his stuff. So you got some minds. It's not just Doug. He's got some generals now. Yeah. He's got some generals under him that, say he's the emperor. There's some generals under him that know what they're doing, man. So they got a good staff, and they're gonna have a plan.
Yeah, no doubt. And one thing we saw last week is the adjustments to the adjustments to the adjustments. Like, you trading punches back and forth between the coaching staffs. I think Brandon Staley's adjustment for the beginning of last game was, we're going to come out in some cover 3. We're going to come out and try to beat you up a little bit with our physicality and coverage. And the Jaguars, they decided that they were going to run more spread looks, really spread them out. And I think that helped out a lot, and it created some more space. Because they were, the Jags run a ton of bunch formations, like tight formations. They spread the field out a little bit more, and I think that was part of the adjustment. So it'll be interesting to see how Spags comes out. Steve Spagnuolo. This is a 3-time Super Bowl winning defensive coordinator.
Yeah, you can
and
coach.
Each of those defenses performed at a high level. So his adjustments to what the Jags have been doing will be interesting to see. And then how does Doug adjust to what Spags is presenting? Yeah. This is what playoff football is all about.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we get to our predictions, there's something else I wanted to ask you about. So ESPN came out with this ranking system, right? And they're ranking all the rookies in the NFL, 1 to 10. And then they have 5 guys that they left off the list, right? So I'm like looking, I think Trayvon Walker had a good year, and obviously he was the first pick in the entire draft. So I want to see, okay, where's Trayvon Walker? He's not even on the list. He didn't even get a mention. So I say that to say this, and here's the list. It's Sauce Gardner 1.
Yep.
Aiden Hutchinson 2. Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, Tariq Woolen, Kenneth Walker III, Tyler Lindenbaum, Christian Watson, Damian Pierce, and Brock Purdy. So I say that to say this. Did the Jaguars miss on Trayvon Walker? Because he's obviously not looked at as a top 15, maybe not even top 20 rookie this year. And he was the first draft pick taken. He only had 3.5 sacks And obviously, he's made some bonehead plays this year. He almost cost the Jaguars a game last week. I thought he did, but luckily they came back and won.
I hated that call.
Yeah, it's still a dumb play. That is still extremely dumb. I don't care. Yeah, bad call. The guy flopped. Dumb play. You're an idiot for doing that. I'm sorry. That's a dumb play. So what do you think?
Yeah, and 2 penalties earlier in the year almost directly led to losses.
Exactly.
So yeah, I hear you there. I would say, and I don't think he's a dumb kid at all. I don't think he has I think it was literally just he didn't think about it.
Yeah.
Bless you.
Excuse me.
He did not think about it. I don't think he's a top 10 rookie this year. B, I don't think anyone expected him to be a top 10 rookie in year 1. This was more of a project type player. What has he brought to the field for the Jaguars? Tremendous run defense, tremendous athleticism and length, and a guy who, when you get him moving as a pass rusher, you move him around a little bit, he can wreak some havoc. And then you've also seen over the last stretch, they've been getting him with his hands in the dirt a little bit more instead of rushing like a 3-4 outside linebacker. And I think that has helped him out a lot as well. But the book was never going to be written on Trayvon Walker after year 1. He was a project pick. Now, some projects figure it out quicker than others. And I think probably Trayvon Walker would have figured it out a little bit quicker, but he dealt with those injuries down the stretch a little bit right after they started letting him rush with his hand in the dirt. And I think that was needed. I think they needed to let him rush with a hand in the dirt because that's what he's more used to doing from his college days. But yeah, I think that there was no way you were going to know what you have in Trayvon Walker after year 1. Asking him to switch to outside linebacker after, playing more of a hybrid role in college. But I'll tell you what, 5 pressures and a sack last week. He had a big one.
Yeah.
He had a pretty big game, despite the dumb penalty. We all know about it. I don't think the Jaguars necessarily missed. Is it the pick I would have made? No. I don't know if I've talked to you about this, but I had Trayvon Walker ranked in the teens among draft prospects last year.
Yeah.
I had a first-round grade on him. I loved him, in a lot of ways. But did I think he should be the number 1 pick? I did not. Yeah. And I'm not saying that to destroy the Jaguars or Trayvon or anything like that. I'm just being honest. I did not have him as the number 1 pick. I didn't have him as a top 5 pick. Thought if you were going to go edge rusher, you should go Aiden or Kayvon.
Yeah.
But I think Trayvon's going to help the Jaguars out in this football game. I thought he had a pretty good game against the Chiefs last time. I think you get him matched up with Andrew Wiley, and that is just sheer a talent mismatch.
Yeah, definitely.
On that, Trayvon Walker is a plus, 0.001% athlete. Andrew Wiley is not close to that. I think Trayvon Walker is going to help the Jags out in this game.
Yeah, no, I think you've made some valid points there. As far as this year is concerned, maybe, they could have got a player that this year came in and did more for him. But as far as long-term, we don't know yet. He's athletic. He's big. He's fast. He's strong, and he's a guy that can create some mismatch problems. So as far as the first year, yes, I think the Jaguars did not get the best player in the draft, and he's probably not even top 15. But as far as down, in the future, can he become one of the top players from this draft class? I believe he can. He's only 21 years old, 22, going to be 22. And he's a freak athlete. He's big. He's shown some things, and he's got 3.5 sacks. He's done a good job in the run game this year. So I think he can improve and do some things this year that in the future that bring him up that list.
And he's already pretty good. This is a very stout run defender, a guy that can set the edge.
Yeah.
And, sneakily, 41 total pressures in your rookie year, that is not bad.
Yeah.
It's not terrible. And his pass rush has improved over the last month or so, again, since they've gotten his hand in the dirt. And you say 3.5 sacks, which is true, but a bunch of those are half sacks. He has been involved in 5 quarterback sacks this year, not 3.5. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, I wouldn't have made the pick, but I do like the guy. I think he's a freak athlete. I'm excited to see what he does this week and in the future because I do think he has a bright future. Looking at looking at the pressure we've talked about, like there's no pressure on the Jaguars in this game whatsoever, is there? It's all on Kansas City. Like if the Jags lose this game, great season. Sucks that we lost, but we have built something that we feel confident about moving forward. If the Chiefs lose this game and go one and done in the playoffs, they're going to be wanting to burn the damn place down. Chiefs fans are going to be like, okay, what do we need to do to change this?
Yeah, absolutely, man. The Jaguars really don't have any pressure on them. They've already won a playoff game. They made a dramatic run to get to the playoffs. They're playing with house money. I hate that term, but they really are. Young team, the Chiefs, this great team, 5 straight and AFC Championship games. They've won 1 ring. They're starting to get tight. They're starting to feel a little pressure. They're starting to see some of these other quarterbacks too. Josh Allen. Okay, you got Joe Burrow. Okay, Justin Herbert. We got to start winning some of these championships. If Patrick Mahomes wants to be one of the greatest of all time, Tom Brady has 7 rings. I mean, obviously he's only 27, but that's 7 rings. Andy Reid's only got 1. He wants to be one of the greatest coaches of all time. 5 straight AFC Championship games. You got 1 ring.
That kind of goes back.
Yeah, there's
the
pressure
same thing
there.
in Philly.
Yeah.
For Andy, I mean, he didn't win a championship in Philly, but he went to the NFC Championship 4 or 5 straight years in Philly. He made it to the Super Bowl once. He lost. So yeah, I agree with you in terms of that. Like, I didn't think about the internal on pressure on Andy regarding his legacy.
Yep.
But yeah, it matters. He's not a spring chicken anymore.
Yeah, no, they got to start putting some of these together if they want to be, go down as some of the greats in the game. You can't be a guy that, just won 1 Super Bowl and you get to all these AFC Championship games and you only pull out 1 Super Bowl, Patrick Mahomes. Like, you're supposed to be the best quarterback in the league. Obviously, you've lost some heartbreakers, but that doesn't matter. There's pressure there. If you get beat in the divisional round and you don't make the AFC Championship game this year, you know how bad that looks for you as a Chief. And Andy Reid, supposed to be one of the best coaches in the NFL, best player in the NFL. It's an awful look. They're tight, and they got to go out there and get this win. The Jaguars are going to be playing free, playing loose. They've already, house money, baby. They made the second round of the playoffs. This young team, first year, Doug Peterson. So, hey, I've seen crazier things happen. I think the Jags got a shot. So, do you think?
I do.
Time for your prediction, Jordan. What do you got, man? Do you think the Jags can pull this one out, or do you going with the Chiefs and the Jags to keep it close?
Yeah, so I've kind of resisted some of the comparisons in the 96 team because it's just been so different. But this game is the 96 Jaguars versus the Broncos. It is. You've got the juggernaut, the team that everyone thinks is going to, win the AFC versus this young upstart that not a lot of people know a lot about. Well-coached team, a lot of young talent. The difference between these 2 games to me is the Broncos did not respect that team.
Yeah.
The Chiefs respect this team. I think the Chiefs are going to be ready for this game from a mental standpoint, from a physical standpoint. They're not overlooking the Jaguars, but I don't think it matters. I think Doug Peterson and his aggressive play calling down the stretch, foiled with Andy Reid's more conservative style, it's going to matter. I think it's going to get the Jags points. I think that, even if the O-line doesn't play great, Trevor's going to get his. And I think the D-line is going to show up and actually get a couple sacks this week and impact this football game. And I think the Jaguars are going to win 32-31.
Okay. Damn, I love it. I love it. 32-31 for Jordan.
Yeah, Full disclosure, I don't think the Jaguars step out on that field and win this game. Like, I don't think that if they played 10 times, I think the Jags probably lose 6 or 7 of those games.
Yeah.
But they played earlier this year, right?
Yeah.
So that eliminates one of those losses in my little twisted head game here. That eliminates one of those losses.
Yeah.
So now 50-50 chance, in my opinion.
I love that. I love that. Hey, and I don't want to be the pessimist. I've been picking the Jags, but this Chiefs team is good, and I think the Jags play them tough, but I think eventually at the end of the game, realistically, I think that Pat Mahomes will probably pull it out, last-minute drive, down the stretch. Andy Reid, my old coach, a coach that drafted me.
Yeah,
So I'm going to have to go with the Chiefs. But I think it's going to be a 3-point game, tight game, last-minute field goal type thing. And I think we're all in for a treat. And we're going to respect this game. And it's just going to be fun. And I think but next year, I think this is going to catapult the Jags into a real it's just going to be a trend of the Jaguars winning the AFC South and competing and going deep into the playoffs. And this is something I think in Jacksonville that we are going to come to expect. And in future years, Trevor Lawrence is only 23. He is going to be a problem for Andy Reid, for Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen, all these guys. And and I think in the future they're going to be competing moving forward to go to this AFC Championship game for a long time. So this is exciting time, baby.
It's not ever going to feel like this again with this group.
No.
Next year, there's expectations. Next year, you're expected to win the AFC South. You're expected to host a home playoff game. It is never going to feel like this again with this specific group.
Yeah.
And so enjoy it because you are the underdog right now. You are the young upstart. You are the team that's not supposed to be here. So from a fan perspective, just enjoy every second of it because it's a lot of fun. And don't take it for granted. Do not take this for granted because even though the Jaguars, when you look at the future, it looks bright, really damn bright. You never know what can happen in this league. And so, and in this world. So enjoy every second of it.
Yeah. And I'll say this, if you don't beat the Jags now, this team is going to keep getting better. Calvin Ridley coming next year. It's going to get scary. So you better beat them right now. Because if you don't, Duval is going to keep getting better and keep improving, and they're going to be a problem.
Yeah, I think they are. I'm ready for this one. We've got one more sleep. We've got
one more sleep, baby. And you know what we got to leave them with?
About 30 hours till that game.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, but I know what we're going to leave them with.
Let's go with a Duval. Let's
Beautiful
go. I think it's going to be a heck of a game. I hope they win. I think there's a big chance that they can pull this one off, and it's going to be fun. And Jordan, we'll be chatting, during this one. I think,
no doubt about it. I think that, like you said, the NFL and NFL fans, regardless of who wins this football game, you're in for a treat tomorrow. Two of the very best offensive minds, the best quarterback in the game versus one of the best young quarterbacks in the game, two talented rosters. It's going to be a lot of fun. Get your popcorn ready. 4:30 p.m. Eastern time, NBC, Tirico and Collinsworth, Jaguars versus Chiefs for the right to go to the AFC Championship game. The Jaguars are trying to make their 4th AFC Championship of all time. Chiefs are trying to make their 5th in a row.
Yeah. Wow. Wow.
Right. It's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait for it. And just a little fun tidbit at the end here. My in-laws, my wife's from Kansas City. In-laws are massive Chiefs fans. We usually watch a lot of football together. We are not watching this game together this weekend.
Can't do it, man.
Not a chance.
I don't want you coming in here all flustered, man. Clay, I had to file for a divorce, man. My in-laws, they were just talking too much trash, this game, and I had to. No, I'm just kidding. But I mean, hey, you have to be separated for this one, man. This is too big.
Yeah,
of a game.
I'm like the level-headed one for sure. I just don't want to get into any situations, and I love them. They're
you gotta go watch it. Go watch it in your own space, man. I do the same.
They're so passionate. I'm gonna be with Jags fans, right?
Yeah, go be with some Jags fans.
So it'll be a lot of fun. Can't wait for it. Again, we're about 30 hours away. One more sleep. It's gonna be a slow 30 hours, but we're ready for it. Ready for this football game. I think the Jags are ready. They're traveling right now. I know a bunch of fans are out at the stadium right now, kind of bidding them farewell. Pretty cool.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, the Jags invited a bunch of fans out, everyone out. Come say farewell to the team, wish them luck. And then there's also going to be a watch party at Daly's place at the bank tomorrow for the game. If anyone's interested in doing that as well, people can go do that. So it's going to be a fun weekend. Can't wait for it. A lot of other great football on the docket as well. A lot of people kind of look at this weekend as the best weekend in football year round because you've got just four tremendous
great
football games.
Yes, it is. Saturday and Sunday, man. And for me, to my 2X teams tomorrow, man. Jaguars and the Eagles. This is incredible.
How are we feeling about the Eagles and Giants?
I'm going to the game. I'm taking the train from Philly down to the game. So it's gonna be fun, man. I'm excited about it. I'm gonna take the train.
That's awesome.
Go watch the Eagles, Giants. I mean, the rivalry game, NFC East, to go to the NFC Championship game. I mean, that's a huge game there.
It is.
And got a couple buddies out there, so that'll be good.
Hell yeah. Well, I hope you have a blast. I know we'll be chatting through it, and I hope Duval, hope the Jags can go to get a dub for you tomorrow, but we'll see how it plays out. Thank you so much for tuning in. Follow Clay Harbor on Twitter at ClayHarbs82, myself at Jordan DeLugo. Review and subscribe on your podcast platform of choice. Believe in Jaguars. You can also check us out on the Gin Jag YouTube page. Thank you so much for tuning in, Duval. Have a great weekend.
Let's go. Good stuff.